We'll call to order the June 27, 2024 Design Review Board meeting for the City of Fort Thomas. Can we start with roll call, please?
Jeffrey Falco.
Here.
Mark Thurnau.
Here.
Pat Haggard.
Here.
Benjamin Novosad.
Here.
Barry Paterno.
Okay, we have a quorum, thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 23rd, 2024. I reviewed them, have no comments. Not sure if anybody else does. If not, take a note on this. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve?
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can't vote, you weren't here. Okay, meeting minutes approved, thank you. We have one item of new business this evening, and then we'll have a continuation of our previous application after that is concluded. So we'll start with 1029 South Fort Thomas Avenue, Benjamin Fannin for GMS Therapy and Fitness. If you're here and would like to come up to the podium, please, with your accomplice.
Sorry.
You're fine. If you wouldn't mind, just before we get into it, if you can give us your name, address.
Benjamin Fannin, 1029 South Fort Thomas Avenue, Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
Great. So we have an application for you for some signage to be added to a couple of windows. Anything else you want to share with us about what you're trying to do, or?
Just get the signage.
Okay. We have an opinion from zoning that it is compliant.
Yep.
So.
It's within the 30%.
Anybody have any questions or any clarification from Mr. Fannin?
No, like the graphics.
Thank you. What's vestibular therapy?
The type of therapy to help resolve symptoms of vertigo and dizziness and imbalance.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Okay. This might be an easy one. Yeah.
I do have one more question. If there's anything added to it, do we have to do another hearing in the future?
Maybe.
Just curious. No
I would
plans
say-
right now, but just curious.
Yeah, I think your best bet is probably always reach out to Sam for any clarifications, and if it works within the guidelines and area of what we're approving tonight, and it's just a minor modification, but works within that total allowable area, it's probably fine. If you wanted to put an awning over the door or add exterior light fixtures or anything like that, it's definitely going to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on this, can we get a motion to approve, please?
I'll move to approve the application as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. You're approved, that was easy.
Thank you.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item is continuation of an application that we reviewed in May for Alexander Circle with Kelsa and Jackson Ader. Yeah, if you'd like to come forward again, maybe give us an update. I have from our meeting minutes what I think we're going to talk about this evening, but if you just want to give us an update of where you are, and again, your name and address just for the record.
Okay. Kelsa Ader for Alexander Circle in Fort Thomas. We tonight are just trying to get the railing design. Last month we were approved to get stairs, to be able to change the railing, to change the material of the flooring and add a French drain. This month we're just trying to figure out what the design of the railing is, make sure it fits the style of the house better, and to see if we can continue the discussion of potential changing of the door. To start with the railing, we are basically just kind of trying to go with what 10 Alexander Circle has. It's metal black rails with a handrail that would be the same composite. So pretty simple. We kind of took this off of the idea of we are trying to see through our railing as best as possible to see the view of the woods, so that's the functionality for us. And then we thought, first off, this railing exists in our neighborhood, but also the fence or what you would have, would be a similar style to the black rails that are already in the neighborhood of the fence back there.
Do we have any images of this, or do you
I
have
did
any
not
photographs?
I did not provide an image.
I'm not familiar with what you're just.
What was the address?
10 Alexander Circle, it's a new house. new build just has black metal rails. I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Okay.
And then similar to like the fence in the front, but then we would, so it's just black vertical rails that we would have like a handrail on top of composite. So if you would like more specifics, I just kind of thought, I didn't know how specific we had to get. Last month we did a lot of research, put a lot of money into what we presented, and we didn't go that route this month for the sake of, it was a very expensive no. So I just didn't know if this would be a better way of doing it. Just if this is more of a fluid conversation, it kind of came down to the dollars of not wanting to invest as much. And, again, we are also working with a new contractor now. So we just haven't gotten to the point of the exact specifics, other than we're just trying to basically copy what is existing in the neighborhood.
Yeah. From Google.
Everybody's doing the same thing.
I know, I was just trying to see, so this must be the railing that they applied to the rear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a view of the rear.
So there were photos done, sorry, not on the microphone. There were photos done like possibly on Zillow or like, I don't believe, like, before we all moved in, there were professional photos done that I bet I could find something.
I mean, I can kind of see it.
Yeah, it looks like it's more of like an infill panel with wood or something more composite as opposed to, looks like it's vertical, I think.
Yes.
So if I could just ask, is there a railing, if we flipped it the other way, is there a railing that we can get approved? We are just kind of trying to find the railing that we can get approved.
I mean, I'm only one voice up here, but I think like what that house has on the front of it, that's clearly visible to me. I would feel comfortable approving something like that.
The white one?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's
The rear railing had been, they had come before us originally with a horizontal railing. This property. And then that was rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to recall, I mean, we must have approved what is on there because we rejected the initial
Yeah.
horizontal rail and approved the one that is on there. I'm just trying to find it to be able to say something about
Yeah.
what that is, to be able to make a,
I mean, it looks like it's wood posts with
Like an aluminum
probably a vertical
vertical.
straight in.
and then there's a wood caps. But that's the best view of it.
Okay, but that's the new house.
That's the new house on the rear
With the
and then on the front they have
more traditional,
I found any photos as well. If they're professional photos, but
Okay,
it's just, yeah.
all right. Oh, I just clicked on it.
Oh, sorry.
I went to just zoom,
Oh.
and when I touched it, it like went back to photo number.
Well, I didn't know if I had to sign up for a specific account on this. I was quickly. Okay.
But there you go. Off the record.
can see that.
Yeah.
Is there any way to, say, TV?
New building, for some reason, Bluetooth was not an option. So.
It's not, it's an improvement upon what you came with last time and is definitely trending in a better direction.
So I think the difference between 10 and the new house is just that it's the new house versus one of the historic houses.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that given the fact that the garages are an addition and they are slightly more modern, I don't know. I would probably feel comfortable with that direction, given it's on the rear of the property, it is on an addition that is not original to the structure. I think I know I mentioned the front railing, but that means very traditional. I think that would, we also don't want to confuse people about what was original to the house versus not original to the house. So if it's an addition, it should be compatible with, but does not have to mimic specifically, so that if we look at it, we should be able to tell what's original versus what's a later thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some relevant sections in the document for porches that have railings. Sorry. When a porch is added where one did not previously exist, the porch, including the detailing, material, texture, color, scale, and connection of railings and trim, shall be compatible with the architecture of the building. There's not anything saying that it has to be exactly matching. It doesn't say that it has to be of certain materials. So if that is an aluminum vertical baluster as opposed to a cable rail, that's still similar architectural type of approach that has a wood rail and more of a major post like that layout seems to. I think to Jeffrey's point, it's not an original element of the house anyway, so I think there's probably a little more leeway in terms of.
Was the new build?
can you come up to the mic, please, and give us your
What's
name?
Jackson, Ader, same address, 4 Alexander Circle. Was the new building, number 10, subjected to the same
Yes,
compatibility standards for the neighborhood?
we reviewed that building quite a lot.
Okay.
There were multiple hearings, and it did evolve from what they originally proposed to what got built.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So it's subject to the guidelines. There are slightly different.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a different section for a new building than
Adding
historic
to
existing, but it was
Yeah.
there is still an overriding document that controls what can go there.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking, okay, if the, it's like, not all squares are rectangles, right? But all squares are rectangles, not all rectangles are squares, so it's like, so if 10 was built compatibly with the neighborhood, and then like by extension, the railing built to 10's architecture, then would 10's that, like by transitive, would then the railing, would fit into our addition, basically, instead of that's all I was curious about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement in what you said about in my understanding of sort of how you typically treat additions to historic homes, or not just homes, but historic properties, is to make a distinction between what is original and what is new, and not trying to essentially make what is new pretend to be identical to what was existing, such that it blurs the line. And compatibility is, to me, means things related to scale, proportion, and all of that, but not necessarily recreation of the original. To me, I find this to be acceptable. And this is beyond what you're asking, but like just for discussion, it seems what would be appropriate for the larger sort of community of homes would almost be to like have, because we know that there have been issues with the text on top of the garage, is to almost like have, for the neighborhood, like a approved sort of kit of parts, as we know other properties may look to do the same with the decks, so that there is sort of still some continuity with how they are treated versus every single one of them looking different on the treatment of how to deal with the railings around the top of the garages.
Yeah.
Whether that's this, you know.
I agree with that comment, and I think even, sorry, your phone locked up, and I can't
Oh, sorry.
unlock it.
Would you
so I
like
don't
me to
know
unlock
your
it?
Password, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Looking at those images, I mean, I would probably lean towards something that was all black. I find the corner post and the top rail to be a little distracting, and I think that the black would probably just disappear. Did not have the tan horizontal in.
I agree. And I assume that that's options, you know, it's just a matter of what you chose for that color, but that you could go with the system and make those selections, right?
Was that sorry, Elsa. Was that a black handrail you were just suggesting?
Yeah, so that house, the number 10 that we're looking at here, they have corner posts, which look like they're probably wrapped in some sort of cement board or something that's painted the same color as the garage, like a taupey gray.
Okay.
And then, yes, it has the composite or whatever material that is top rail that sort of looks-ish like wood.
So the part you put your hand on the guardrail assembly versus the balusters or the vertical parts that are black on number 10.
So you prefer where you put your hand, the handrail, to also be blacks?
I would,
That's not my question.
my recommendation from a design standpoint would be to have everything be black, did not mix and match with materials and color. Again, that's just me.
Right. I think what it does to, you know, what you're suggesting is it does actually, and you were saying that one of the reasons you want to do this is because it opens it up. And I think that if you kept with it as an all metal railing system rather than sort of what, as you were saying, like a fiber column or fiber newel post and metal infill, is it actually probably could make those posts seem smaller, the cap rail seem smaller, right?
Yeah. This website is not great for letting us zoom in on the pictures.
I mean, like
Trying to see if I can-
visually or graphically, when something is painted all black, it tends to go, I mean, obviously the front white stands out, but when you're looking out into the woods or there's something that has a lot of noise, the black tends to disappear.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of conversation, it seems to be more of, to summarize, it's more about the character of the railing as opposed to necessarily the design of the railing, but things that are more vertical balusters that have a larger major post on the corners or however that's anchored and a thicker top rail is probably more of the direction that matches architecturally in character to the neighborhood as opposed to glass or
Right.
horizontal cable rails or something like that. It's just significantly opposite direction from a aesthetic standpoint. So I don't know if it necessarily needs to be, I mean, I don't know if the color necessarily matters, if it's wood or metal might matter, but I think if the rhythm of it and the configuration of it is probably important first, and then maybe it's secondary, like kind of just does this seem compatible in terms of the aesthetics overall with the materials and colors applied to it.
Okay. My only thing with the black handrail is that if that was literally metal, it would be nice to have the function of that being flat, to be able to rest on it, to be able to put like a drink down on it.
Find that.
You can
I
find.
promise you, yes.
Okay, and would that be metal though? Would that get very hot that when you rested on it, you know, you're burning your arms, that you don't use it, you don't put?
Probably going to be aluminum. I think if you wanted a wood top rail, this is where specificity really helps us make decisions.
Okay.
So we're kind of like talking about it. We don't
Okay.
really have pictures or drawings to respond to. So
Okay.
this is a little atypical to be able to give you a definitive opinion without that. But yeah, I mean, I guess my opinion would be if you wanted so like this is kind of what you're proposing here. This is in lieu of your drawing. This was sort of in the example that you shared where they have some sort of a top rail and it's a color, and then they have these big posts on the corner which are big, and those are a color, and then it has this aluminum railing that sits within that. This type of a system where you have, it's probably all aluminum, you would have a slightly, and this would be also a little bit more historically appropriate, where this corner post would be typically wider and more substantial than these vertical spindles here, balusters here. These corner posts are typically going to be ish big. Yeah, I mean, so there's an example. If the system were all black, whether this post comes through the top rail or not is an option. The depth of the bottom rail is an option. If you wanted to put a piece of something along the top of there, again, my opinion would be to keep it all the same color. Or if you wanted it wood, to do a really dark stained wood so that it doesn't look like there's a white line.
Do you want to go back to this with the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
We were hoping to do black for, as we were saying, to be able to see straight through. So we are fine with that. My only hesitation, which I would hope to look into before we maybe settle on this and have something officially approved, would be just understanding the material of the top rail first to make sure the function of it was something that we would be happy with. Maybe we'll go back and, happy to keep this open to, we're getting there. Our first strategy, somebody had advised us to say, go ahead and ask what you really like. And we walked away and said, we feel silly. That was a silly mistake. So now we've kind of switched it and said, well, let's go with what's there, but we're finding what works. Yeah, so I guess I would say I would prefer to table this because I don't feel that we have something that we can actually approve, tangible to approve.
I would agree with that. I think if, that was probably just on Home Depot's website, there are dozens and dozens of black aluminum railing systems to start with. It you're going to have 1,000 choices for a corner post, a top rail. If the spindles are turned or if they're just square, you're going to have a lot of decisions to make. If you work with a railing or fencing contractor, he or she can help you dial in. I'm hoping that the direction we're giving you helps kind of point you in the right direction to say feels like there's generally support for an aluminum fencing system with vertical posts and vertical spindles, and my preference would be all black to make it disappear as much as possible. If you wanted to do an alternate top rail, I think I would, again, my opinion only, but my recommendation would be to go with something that is also fairly dark in color. Doesn't have to be black, but something that would also help that disappear, not, again, just look like a line floating out there above your deck.
Yeah, the main characteristics of the railings there are heavy top rail, bottom rail, and then spindles in between. I noticed when you first put the drawings together from your architect, they were proposing what they call the California approach, which is 2x4 vertical, 2x4 vertical, and the 2x2s plastered up next to them. So it's really not a nice top rail, and it's not a nice bottom rail. So look towards the ones that have sort of the traditional heavier top rail, reasonably substantial bottom rail with the spindles in between.
Okay.
Yeah, and traditionally they're just square. So you don't really have to spend a lot of money to do anything that's unusual.
Okay.
And also in terms of if you have something that you like and want to propose, it doesn't necessarily need to have, I don't think, a full elevation specific to your your house, I think you could get a cut sheet or
Yeah, I don't-
brochure or documentation from the manufacturer to submit and say, this is the system that we're proposing.
Yeah,
Okay.
to be honest, if you had a product in mind and you had these as the elevations, this is fully sufficient as the documentation of it, other than the actual product,
Okay.
in my mind.
Could we email this final pictures at this point, or do we need to come back next month to
Well,
approve this?
we have to make a motion and vote on it, but
Okay.
I don't know, I think it should be submitted ahead of time, so you could submit the stuff by email.
Okay, but we will come back next month for the meeting before we can move forward with, okay.
There are very few things right now that can be that are defined to be able to be administratively approved.
Okay.
So yes, you'd have to be back in front of us.
Okay,
I mean, and I think the sooner you can get that stuff in and we have time to digest it and make sure we're comfortable with what you're proposing. We have occasionally done consultations unofficially where again, they've only happened a handful of times, but to give an initial opinion on, from my perspective, if I feel like it would align with the guidelines, it's not an official approval at all, but it's just like a consultation kind of.
yeah,
We've done that occasionally, so,
Okay. Okay,
kind of feel like if you keep it simple and keep it black, and you're going to be trending in the right direction.
okay, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So then you had your opening on here as well.
So the other thing would be the door. I kind of went with the same sort of strategy of we first went with our dream and we realized it wasn't within the historic nature. So we went with what is already in the neighborhood and we're just trying to go with something that's already been approved. And this is literally on our conjoining neighbor's house. We found a picture that our current door was an original window, so it is not changing an original door. It will be converting partial of the building back to an original and creating a new doorway. That again is on the other side of the house.
Yep. We did, for people in the audience, because I know you guys care about this stuff, thanks for being here, we did receive an updated opinion from Wes Cunningham, who is the historic preservation consultant for the city, and after we dug through minutes and drawings from back in 2018, where modifications to your adjoining property were reviewed, and then he has taken a closer look at the sight lines from the right-of-way. He is, I can just read what he says. All of this information does change quite a bit in my opinion. I didn't know about the other sliding door, and I didn't know that this was not an original entryway but a converted window. I was basing my earlier report on an iPhone photo from the homeowner with no additional context. All of that, plus it is only visible from a portion of the right-of-way, not close to the house. You have to look through several rear yards to see it. Makes me change my earlier opinion. He does note that this is a slippery slope and could allow other homeowners to use precedent. He does say that I don't think these types of doors belong on these historic buildings, but I can't argue with that change being allowed on the same building and that this is a replacement entryway. So I walk through your neighborhood every morning. I have looked at your sightlines quite a lot. I agree with Mr. Cunningham in terms of its visibility or lack thereof. I still have heartburn over the size of the proposed opening. And I have paid attention to your neighbor's property as well. For me, I think there would be at least one modification on what you're proposing that I would want to see, that I would require. Which right now, if you're proposing with the same new door configuration, I really feel like this left jamb should align with the window that's above it if we were to take action on this. The fact that it extends past it right now and doesn't align, I mean, again, that's sort of the key tenet of historic homes, is that everything is proportional and aligns. in the fact that what you're proposing blows past that by another couple of feet and is no longer symmetrical from first floor to second floor, doesn't align from first floor to second floor, I would take issue with that.
I think that is the drawing from the original. I think that is possibly the original meeting, but I will show you a picture of our neighbor's door that we just sent a picture rather than drawings for this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think we have that in our packet. Or
Okay, mind if I bring this up?
Please. Yeah, they also have a different condition because they don't have any windows on the second floor above that opening. So they have a
Double with the transom versus a taller.
Double.
Triple.
Yeah, I mean, that fits better in here.
yeah. So they do have a different. I can show you if you want to see it.
The windows on the second floor, Thursday.
So they don't have any windows above that anything necessarily had to align with because that's just big blank brick wall, right? You have two windows directly above this opening here. Here. And this was your original first floor window here that aligned perfectly first floor to second floor above it. You guys are proposing per this drawing to expand this all the way over to here. I'm suggesting these edges should align that way. So you would likely go from a 3-panel door to probably just 2 doors.
Could you fit? Well, I know we can't fit. Sorry, would you like me to go back up there?
Would you like me to, or I'm sorry, I don't think 3 panels could fit. I think that's out of the question, but would 2 doors, 2 panes even fit if we align within the windows is my question. I'm just not sure if you could fit a 2-pane door.
You've got 2 right there and it's within this edge. So
Okay.
you actually probably end up with sheer oversized doors in terms of their width. So
Okay.
they go from 3 feet to 3'8" each so that they align with this edge.
But converting this still to a window, or no?
Saying taking that all, making a large door
Okay.
that aligns with that
Oh.
edge and aligns with that edge.
You were proposing sliders.
Originally.
Yeah, right. So your neighbor has just a double set of doors that swing into their house,
Mhm.
right? So this would go that direction where this would just be 2 doors,
Okay. And no
French doors.
original window conversion? Because I thought you were saying we wouldn't be able to, that's where I was saying, I
No.
don't think we could fit a window and the door
no,
if
no.
we aligned it with this
Correct.
second floor.
Correct.
Okay.
You're just gonna keep this brick.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I think you're gonna be back in a position where you're gonna have to submit a new door
Okay.
and a new drawing that shows how, what you're proposing to do below works within this architecture here.
And you probably wouldn't have to show the entire house like it would. I mean, if you had a portion of that wall that is demonstrating to scale the placement of the existing windows, the new masonry opening,
Okay.
and how that relates to those windows above is,
I would just update this drawing right here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the most important one.
Okay.
And make it as big as it'll fit on this page.
Okay.
And make sure that this edge aligns with here and this edge aligns with here.
Okay. This is very small.
That is
Even
very
when you print it, you can't read
I
it.
mean, that's a 24 by 36 drawing that chunked out the,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
but-
that makes more sense.
but I
You
mean,
can't read it on
I
the phone, but you can't read it when you print it either.
think, I think the specifics of it you're gonna have to just look at how it lays out. Doing a double that fills that entire width might be very large or very wide. You might just have to, or I think if it's centered between those 2 windows would also at least go in the right direction, but that's hard to say without seeing what the scale of
I mean,
it
it does seem like
They
it's.
already have one jam in place.
is. Is it, like right now, that one, the right side is already aligned with the
Yeah.
window above? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's some challenges in this even. Okay.
So again, specificity is good. So if you select your door model, door hardware, what color you want the door to be, if it's gonna have glass or not in it, the
assuming that your lintel, the new lintel will match the existing lintels above the other windows indoors on the property. The more specific you can be, the better.
Okay. Is there any opposition or preference to sliding glass door or French door? We preferred sliding glass door for function, but what we can get approved, we
It depends
would.
on if you want 8 foot of opening that just opens all the way to the outside, or 3.5 feet of opening in a fixed
Right,
glass panel.
right. But is there anything historically that would not get approved or
Historic.
with sliding?
Sliders are definitely not a historic
Okay,
kind of door
okay.
on a residential property.
Okay.
I
We
think
were-
there's also some selection specifics of what are the dimensions of that door. So like, if you're looking at that door over there, that bottom rail is, well, that's very tall because it's ADA compliant, but the size of the frame all the way around it. So if it's a slider that has very thin rail on the bottom and frame all the way around, then that's probably a different look than if it's something that's trying to mimic
Right.
the proportions of a French door that would be more historical. So the sight lines and the daylight opening of the glass becomes something that's relevant
Okay,
to what the specific selection is for that product.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I would not come back with like an all bright anodized aluminum door. It's not going to be appropriate, again, if you're working with Pella or Anderson or one of those manufacturers, or like, I do think it would be appropriate to select a door that is a little bit more historically appropriate for the property, not have something that is all metal and shiny, and ideally the glass tinting is consistent with whatever tinting may exist within your replacement windows, just so that it feels, again, a little bit more cohesive for everyone.
We had planned to have the exterior of the door match the windows, but his exterior of the door could also match the front door. Is there a direction we should go with that?
That would be an example of take pictures of your front door, include that in your packet. I can.
What is the neighbor's door?
That's a good question. I'd say it's a matching the windows style.
Would you like to see again?
I mean, it kind of, to me, that seems probably to make more sense. Well, okay, the frame, so it matches the windows, yeah, where the frame matches the, sort of the brick mold, the door matches the muntins. I mean, that seems to me like a pretty appropriate strategy.
You know what those words mean. You might
So, okay, the white or cream color around the window is the brick mold trim. And then the components that make up like the operable sash of the window, that darker gray color, if that's what that is.
It's like a dark anodized brown.
That is, I think if this same color scheme is carrying around the house, that to basically follow that strategy should make sense to me. And honestly, it may be that this door in that configuration to design, basically measured out to totally fit as Jeff's pointed out, the width from outside of window to outside of window may be like the answer.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that there's information you can get from them if they have drawings when they bought the house.
I'm saying we would reach out to the developer.
Yeah, it-
Not working out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the windows were all Marvin.
They were somebody else. I don't remember the
Well, we
name.
might have a record, but yeah, they would know all that.
Yeah, I think it was in there. In the previous one.
Yeah.
It's not the current homeowner.
Let me give you some shipping scratch notes, what we're saying. Recommending this drawing
enlarged and updated. And then, do you understand the type of information we're looking for on the railing? I've already covered that. And then I think when this is updated, what Mark was just describing was the surround around the windows is a white or cream. That's like wood typically, right? And then the window is set within that, and the window itself is like a dark frame.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll carry that forward to down here. So you have this all be white or cream to match whatever that surround is, and then a dark door.
Okay.
Okay.
The opening happens to be 8 feet tall with a header to match the windows, I guess, next door.
Yes.
So then you can look at, maybe going down to a 6/8 door with a transom above it. It's going to get kind of narrow, but otherwise you're going to have 8-foot tall or feet.
But that's where, again, referencing what the configuration is of the neighbors is not a transom.
That's probably why they went to the transom, because they didn't want to go to really tall doors, because you're getting into custom doors and stuff. So it'd be cheaper to get a standard door with a transom above it than potentially go into custom.
Maybe.
But
Standard height doors with a custom sized transom and maybe a custom sized width that all may add up to not really making.
yeah,
When I went out there, I went to Pella, and he said he'd be happy to sell me some transoms with the doors. So he made it sound like staying away from the transoms would help save me money, but I'll do what? Okay.
I feel like you have enough information for your next step.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. This idea of transom versus not transom. The thing that will be interesting is to kind of see it in comparison is whether or not when something becomes wider, aligning outside a window to outside a window, does it look squat versus just letting them be taller and then they proportionally kind of feel a little better.
I would lean towards no transom, but
But that's what I'm saying. You kind of have to see it. It may be once you've made it wide.
architecture will need to play with it and see what it looks, what makes sense. Because the other option is to just go with, 6/8 doors. You don't have to really necessarily push to 7, because probably all the doors in the house today are all 6/8. That'll give you a little more room to do a transom.
Well, as you were just discussing, I think if they were, as full height, aligned window to window or transom, like either approach may be fine. It kind of has to be, you'll know it when you see it, whether it looks right, proportional. It could be squat if it gets wider. And you
yes,
get
correct.
transom.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, but the key is also the stone up there, whatever, it's got to be the same as the one with the windows. So that elevation has to be maintained.
Is it possible to compare this picture to this door and see if that is transom, no transom?
this has a transom, and so the height would be the same, right? And this looks proportional to me. What I don't know is whether or not to do what Jeff has been saying of like aligning the outside of the window to outside of the window, whether that is very similar to this. It kind of seems like it is, but if, let's say this was actually 2 feet wider. Now all of a sudden these doors would look kind of weirdly
I see.
wide and short.
I see.
And then you would be like, just make the
Because
doors.
we have to go more wider.
And
They might be. I mean, it's kind of like that measurement. What is that measurement is sort of your starting point.
I think you're going to be in that condition when the doors are going to be wider than this, and it would look awkward to have it be.
Should we avoid transom altogether, or how do you want us to present that?
But if you're going to be speaking with the rep, they will easily give you both options.
Okay.
They'll just be like, here, this is
Okay.
that configuration, here's that configuration.
Okay,
And you can put them both in your package. I think
Okay.
that's perfectly fine.
okay.
Okay.
And did you come across a copy of this design guidelines? Yeah. Do you want a copy of
I'll
it?
take a copy. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Probably buried in a packet when you bought the house.
Yes.
Stack of
There's a
paper.
binder.
Take that shit.
Okay, thank you. This is extremely helpful. Thank you.
So we're going to table your application again. Somebody like to make a motion on that, unless there's any further discussion, or if you'd like to say anything on this topic, or...
I would just like a copy of West Cunningham's report, that's all.
Sure, you can have my copy right
Okay,
here.
thanks.
Just in an email.
I mean, I've requested it before, but I get them ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about process before. It's very common that if we get applications in time, which usually is a minimum of 2 weeks before the hearing, minimum. A lot of jurisdictions are 30 days before the hearing, then it can go up on a website.
Great.
Everybody and their brother can see what we're going to be reviewing, and I agree. I think ultimately that should be our goal here, to be able, because frankly, we're seeing some of this stuff for the first time.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Including the
That's it.
signage guy, which was a slam dunk, easy. We didn't get that drawing until tonight.
Sure. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, can we get a motion to table the continued business, please?
I'll move to table the application for
Alexander.
whatever the address is, Alexandria.
Okay. We have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. If there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 6:49.
Second.
Need a first?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, can I get a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Are you guys planning to